Stagnation. What the hell is stagnation anyway? And why is it so bad? That's what we're talking about today, Everyday KT, number 227. Why stagnation kills and how to avoid it. So for those of you who don't know, stagnation is what happens when something does not move, does not change, does not evolve, does not do anything. The classic example, a stagnant pool of water. What happens? Gets kind of gross, kind of stinks. Don't really want to drink it because it's just been sitting there, hasn't done anything, hasn't gone anywhere, done it, moved. It's just sitting there. Look at those survival shows. They see a stagnant pool and they're like, let's go look and see if we can find some better water. So how does that apply to people, jobs, world, men in kilts? It's quite simple. So we'll start with the obvious, nature. Stagnation. As a species, through evolution, those species who have stagnated in their evolution are probably no longer with us anymore. You know, you have some species who have evolved to the point where they don't need to evolve anymore. Sharks, crocodiles, stuff like that, because they're at the top of pretty much every food chain there is. You get sharks and crocodiles or alligators in the same spot, and holy crap. So, sorry, bug. That's what happens with animals, stagnation. Look at animals who their evolutionary progress stopped is because it stagnated. They did not evolve to adapt to the significant changes in their environment. Maybe their food source is no longer available. Maybe the temperature went up or down, or who knows, flood, freeze. Stuff changes over time. You know, if you don't evolve to it and adapt to deal with that thing, you quote unquote die. You know, maybe not literally, but you know, in an evolutionary sense, yes. There will be no more of whatever thing couldn't deal with the current environment. So that pretty good example of historical context of what happens when things stagnate. Now, professionally, when a business stagnates, what happens is it gets good at something, really, really good, and sits on its laurels. You want a couple of really good examples? Look at technology. You look over the past 20 years, you can see the companies who have embraced change. They have embraced the differences in technology and adapted to meet the needs of consumers. Those companies that don't exist anymore didn't do so. You know, Amazon, what did it start as? A bookstore. What is it now? Arguably one of the largest online marketplaces on the planet. I mean, Walmart is changing their methodology to compete with Amazon because Amazon is making brick and mortar stores semi-obsolete, depending on what it is you're looking for. It's come to the point now where, unless it's food, you can probably get it on Amazon and it'll be at your door within 2 days. So, anybody who's not changing or evolving as a business, they're stagnating. And they're not going to be around for much longer. The other thing is professions where you haven't had to change. Things don't change, people lose interest. You know, look at blacksmithing. Very, very important skill to have. Very, very, very useful skill to have. But it's the same thing. Beating metal on metal. Heating it, cooling it, pounding it, shaping it, doing cool things with metal. Now, I think blacksmithing is awesome. I'm not good at it. It's awesome. I would love to be awesome at it. But unless they come up with cool stuff to do, blacksmithing as a whole is meh. I mean, luckily, there have been changes. You know, look at, there's a new show, Forged in Fire. Actually, a couple of guys in kilts have been on that show. What is it? Blacksmithing. What are they making? Big, sharp, pointy things. Very, very cool. And they made a contest out of it, made a show, so it's getting a resurgence in popularity because they evolved. They're not stagnating. Typewriter repairmen, pretty much gone. Granted, that's due to shift in technology, but it's a halfway decent example of what happens when something stagnates. Here's one for you. Look at the photography industry. Look at cameras. Look at think about 20 years ago, before the cell phone, before this was your entire camera studio, there were a bunch of camera makers, film makers, makers of the film, not people shooting film. There were tons of them. And some of those camera makers embraced the new digital technology. Those that did not and says, nope, that's just a flash in the pan. It's a fad. It's going away. Probably not with this anymore. I know I'd love one of those Polaroid Insta-camera things that just spit out the picture right there, but they're hard to get. So that's what happens from a business perspective when you stagnate. Resting on your laurels, refusing to accept change, refusing to accept new things, thinking that what you have is so awesome it can never be improved upon. Usually winds up where you wind up self-destructing and your company tanks because somebody improved whatever you had. That leads us to the kilt. So up until 20 odd, years ago, the kilt was the same for a very long time. It also was a very small niche. People who wore traditional tartan kilts, tradition meaning whichever era of kilt they had, but tartan kilts worn very specific ways, and then utility kilts hit the scene. What happened? Oh, hey, new take on the kilt. And it has exploded since then. There are now kilts made of damn near everything you can imagine, of every style, size, shape, color, material, you name it. There is probably a kilt done for it. Why? Because it is no longer stagnating. Now, what happened, though, as a result of that, are people who decided that, nope, that new utility style thing is a fad. I'm going to stick with these traditional ones, and I'm going to charge a boatload for them, no matter what. Well, refusing to adapt to the new market means lots of kilt makers went out of business, which is unfortunate because I know that there's a lot of them who are very, very, very good. But it's very hard to compete when you're charging $600 for a piece of clothing against someone who can get something not the same quality given, but good enough for the average person for $100. It's very difficult to compete with that. So you have to either evolve, change your plan, strategy, whatever, or you wind up stagnating and no longer around. So how does that apply to you personally? Well, it's very simple. You either adapt to your situations, you avoid stagnation by improving yourself on a regular basis. Because if you, say, 100 years ago, you went to school, decided to learn a trade, you wanted to be an awesome, we'll stick with blacksmithing, awesome blacksmith, you could go apprentice with a blacksmith and become a blacksmith and be good at it, and you can just keep doing it and don't have to worry about having to find another job because you're a blacksmith, you're the town blacksmith. They didn't need another one, but they had to have you, so you had a whole hell of a lot of job security. You're a farmer. Well, you grow up a farmer, you become a farmer, die a farmer. Don't have to worry about much. Today's market, or today's world, a whole different story. What you learned as a kid today might not even exist anymore. Or it has changed so drastically that you have to go relearn from scratch everything that you thought you knew how to do. So you have to evolve and change, because if you stagnate, you rest on your laurels, you wind up being one of those people whose highlight of their entire life was something that happened in high school. Because they're like, yay, I'm an awesome whatever. High school was awesome. They're like top of the heap. Everything's great. Get out of high school and they're like, now what? They refuse to change. They refuse to accept that in order to be competitive in the market for jobs and to remain interesting, they have to evolve. They cannot stay the same all the time. So, it's like me. When I started doing IT work, it was C programming. People don't even use that much. I mean, they do, but the average person probably doesn't use a whole lot of C. It's probably C++. but most of them are not even using programming languages, using some kind of graphic-driven drag-and-drop interface to develop the code for them behind the scenes. Or they're using something with a more natural language interface. I didn't pick any of that up because I didn't want to, but now I'm no longer competitive in the coding environment. I'd have to go relearn how to do all of that, and it's only been 15 years. It's not like 50, 100,000, whatever for evolution. This is very quick. You know, people who got into the internet game, doing social media, 5 years ago and today, they don't really, the rules are so different that it's almost not the same thing. Sorry, the mosquitoes are pretty bad in here right now. So you have to evolve. You have to not stagnate. You have to keep learning new things to stay interesting, to stay relevant. Because if you're neither of those things, nobody cares. I mean, imagine, perfect example. Imagine going to a stand-up comedian tonight. Go to the show, it's awesome, right? Imagine going a year from now, and it's the exact same show. Are you going to buy a third set of tickets knowing it's the same show again? If it was Robin Williams, maybe. Odds are, no. So you have to keep up with the times. You have to evolve. You have to keep learning. You don't have to change, but you have to learn and understand where whatever it is you're doing is going. Try to predict that if you can. Some people can figure that out pretty well just because they know enough, they've been in it for long enough. Others can't. But if you can avoid stagnation and you can keep up with whatever it is that you're trying to do, odds are you're going to do just fine. Otherwise, you're going to wind up like the dodo bird. Where are they? Not here. So, I know it's really late. I had a pretty significant scout meeting tonight. It was the Ignite Membership kickoff meeting. So, that's why I'm late. So, something again, I can't see any comments, so I'm just going to grab Kiltology Volume 2. And we are going to talk about, evolution. So, Kiltology number 318, hunting. It is a little known fact that the kilt is one of the few weapons of war still used for hunting. Just ask any lass in the pub. A kilt is the most valuable and dangerous weapon in any kiltie's arsenal. If you're lucky, she'll show you why. And it says underneath that, in brackets, insert filthy joke here. Why? Because there's so many jokes to add to that. It's insane. So, what does that have to do with anything that we're talking about? Simple. It's called the evolution of the garment. It's no longer a strict weapon of war in the battle. It's not just something to stay warm. It's a weapon to use in the battle of shenaniganizing, if it were. Competing with others for the folks you're interested in. You know, like I've seen it said many, many times. Guy walks into a bar, everybody else better just pack up and leave because they don't have a shot with whomever they're trying to get something with. And with that, I'll let you go. You guys have a good night. It's Wednesday, I think. So 2 more days till the weekend and all kinds of awesomes coming up. So go out there, have some fun, do something awesome, and be strong. Put a kilt on.